Hi, this is Big V. It's Thursday, November 1st, 2018. We're going to join the lead call. This is Big V, and I just want to welcome everyone to the month of November. Saturday, don't forget to mess with your clocks, especially if you're here in the Pacific Northwest. You mess with your clocks this Saturday. So don't forget to mess with your clocks before you go to bed. All right, we're going to go to the lead call, which is the Frank R. Wallace call that happens every Thursday. The only Thursday that this call will not be happening is on Thanksgiving Day. There will be no lead call on Thanksgiving. I'm sure you'll hear about that either tonight or in the weeks to come. So we're going to go to the lead call, and this is a Frank R. Wallace call. This call will go until about 6 o'clock. So here we go. Enjoy. You're going to hear the interaction of members talking with each other. So that's what we're going to listen to at this time. So right now they're just talking and communicating with each other. So I hope you enjoy. I'll inject if there's any phone numbers or access codes given, because that is not allowed on these videos because I replay these videos on a social media event that I do every Wednesday morning at 9:45 and then again at 7:45 p.m. There is a social media event that I do every Wednesday, and some of these calls are replayed on that event on Wednesdays, so the general public gets to hear what's being said in the Neothink Society or the Neotech Society, whether it's Frank R. Wallace's works or whether it is Mark Hamilton's works. The public gets to hear the mentoring. They get to hear the frustration. They get to hear the BS. They get to hear the load of crap that the society sometimes likes to try to pull. So we're going to go to the call now. Hope you enjoy. All right, enough of me. To the interaction of the lead call, Frank R. Wallace. Enjoy.
Somebody Solar Boy from Ohio. The family's in. Hi, welcome Ohio. Yep, the family's here. Good. Hello. Welcome. Who's joining us? Hi. Welcome to the call.
Who am I talking to?
You're talking to Steve Fagan, the mentor on this program. Welcome. And your name, sir?
Welcome. Pardon me?
Your name, sir?
Michael Johnson.
Great, Michael. What state are you from?
Idaho.
I know. That's why you said it a few times. Now I know. This is Michael's first time. All right.
I am in Idaho.
Michael's first time on the call. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining us. This is the lead call. Known
Hi,
as
Michael.
Hi.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Michael. Welcome.
Welcome.
Who else is with us? Welcome.
Hi, Michael. Welcome. Randall from Ohio.
Hi, Randall.
I'm from
Welcome.
Ohio, too.
There you go. Got a few Ohio's on tonight.
Muted.
Hey, Steve, it's that time.
Great. Charlie, is the recording on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. I didn't hear it. That's why I want to make sure before I start. Thanks.
Yeah, I
Okay.
barely heard it myself.
Okay. Thank you. Well, welcome, everybody. My name is Steve Digger Fagan, and we are on the lead call, the Frank R. Wallace call. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for all for joining us. I only heard Michael. There may be others who are brand new, but Michael Johnson from Idaho is brand new tonight. Welcome to the call. We're glad to have you with us. Please have a pen and paper. You're going to want to take notes, especially tonight. We are going to move forward from last week to take it a little bit deeper. So just remember, many times you'll say, where are we at? What are we talking about? What it's about? Where is this in the literature? I'll tell you where it is in the Prime Cure, and I'm actually going to be using The Rise of Neotech also tonight. So you may want to bring both books out. And they're both Dr. Wallace's books. This is a Frank R. Wallace or Dr. Wallace call. We work with all his writings. Doesn't always mean it's out of just the Prime Discovery. We use that as our main focus, but I do go to other manuscripts as needed, as long as we stay with Dr. Wallace's writings. So I'm going to just say welcome. This call will go for the next hour, and I have a lot to cover tonight. So we're just going to get right into it, because I am very energized about moving forward with the information, and I really want us to get Dr. Wallace's understanding and his material and dig deeper into it. So we're going to take specific areas, and of course we're going to dig into it. That's why I'm known as Digger. And we're going to look at it in detail. So before we get started, though, let me say and introduce Charlie Moore. Charlie works with me on the call. He is a mentor. He also is a coach. He's working on other programs with us. He works with me on some programs. We work together on the Sunday night call. And let's just bring him up. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great.
All right. Good to have you with us tonight. I can't believe it's Thursday again, November 1st. New month.
Yes.
Here we go. The year is almost ending. You know, so everybody, those objectives you made in January, how many of them were met or being met? It was interesting. The years go fast, don't they? Amazing. And with all the stuff that goes on now with government and all, it goes, I think, even faster. So let's go forward. Last week, I was working with you from the Rise of Neotech, and I was talking about the intro. And I told you that going forward, I am going to use this as an intro to each one of our meetings. Now, I'm not going to go back into depth like I did last week. I'm just going to pretty much read it, maybe make a comment on one or two things, and then we're going to go right into the next step. But I am going to use this as my lead-in. So please listen closely. If you want to find it, it's on the Rise of Neotech. It's around page 5 or 6, and it's in the preface at the very bottom. And it says the following. The nature of man is that he, unlike all other animals, has the unique ability to think in terms of concepts. Multiple ideas, multiple percepts. No other animal can think significantly beyond one percept. That's important. You have to know your value. You have to know the qualifications you have in your being, psychos, behavior, mental, physical, emotional. You need to really look to your inner self. So, man can integrate 2 or more concepts into new, and this is, let me say this very slowly. Man can integrate 2 or more concepts into new and still wider and more abstract concepts. Now that's a mouthful, I always say, when I hear that, because it's like a tongue twister. And every time I read that sentence, I have to read it again, because there's a few ands in there that sometimes I think maybe Dr. Wells could have taken them out, but this is his writings, and I will work with it. Man can integrate 2 or more concepts into new and still wider and more abstract concepts. So what does that mean? He can think more out of the box. Man can think into larger, bigger ideas, grander ideas. Man can develop his own life through creativity and understanding the power of creation. We have the ability to think into higher and wider scopes. We have the ability to be very, very objective, as well as, I like the concept of abstract, because that kind of, it brings in like more creativity. And all of us who are in the arts world, I know I'm one, and I know we have a lot on the call tonight, I like to look at abstracts, because when I paint and I'm creating a piece of art, I never like to just, I'm very careful to paint a little bit differently. Somebody said to me, if you're just going to paint what you see only, what you see with the eyes only, you might as well take a picture. But as an artist, I want to create my feeling. I want to create my vision. I may look at a tree differently than you do. I may look at the bark differently than you do. I may see different crevices and markings in the bark. I may throw a heart on the bark. As we did when we were younger, when we were dating, we took the, so-and-so and so-and-so. Well, I might add that to it. That's abstract. I'm adding, it's not there, but I see it there. So I can use a very creative mentality and use my mind to higher and higher levels of pictures and creating puzzles and puzzle pieces from that. Now, this is something, when I talk about abstract and I talk about wider integrations, I want you to please include in your mind using your imagination and your creativity. It's very important that we do not stagnate our mind cells, that we are as creative as we can. And you know, we don't really talk a lot about it, but I'm going to kind of give a plug for Elaine Bennett's program on Sundays. That is one of the best programs for all the society members to be on, because that gives you an opportunity to be able to think, explore, visualize, and be abstract as you can be, between the poetry, between the songs, between, I'm sure, arts involved. And to me, it's called the Living Arts Call. It's a great call. And I'll give it a plug because I'm talking about it. And Elaine Bennett runs it along with Steve LaValle and Jonathan Gonzalez and Tim Holstead, and they bring all their talents to the table. So do many of you. That call, and the reason is I want you to go to that call if you can on Sundays at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. And remember, don't forget, by the way, clocks go back this weekend. So make sure you're on the calls for Sunday at the right times. But the number's this. I'm going to give it to you because if you're going to get into abstract mentalities and thinking and colors and pictures, this call is very helpful.
Like I said, I'm not going to advertise phone numbers or access codes to any of the other numbers. Hold on. All right, we're going to go back to the call. The lead call.
And a few things early, and chat with everyone, I'm sure, and use the value of the call. It's very, very powerful, especially for our mindsets and integrations and pictures and, using words, using color, using music. Music's a major, major way for us to help our integrations. I talk a lot about meditation, but I've got to tell you, music's another vehicle. Besides writing, I'm a big writer, and I like to write down things about my life and what I do. So I almost have this whole memoir, and I've been working on something, and it's still being worked on. But the key is use talents that use your eyesight, being visible, being able to see it, to look at it, using your senses, and help yourself develop wider and wider scopes of integration. And these are the tools you do that for. So I think I just dug into one sentence. So there you go. Let's continue on. The logical integration of concepts is called reasoning. The logical integration of concepts is called reasoning. Now, in order to understand that, you've got to understand the logical part of the mind and the concept of logic. You've got to understand what concepts are. You've got to understand how percepts go to concepts. And then how do you use the thought process for reasoning? You have to use these tools. One of the things you have to understand, everybody, and this is for everybody, in NeoThink, we're learning a new way of thinking. We're looking at a way to use tools, concepts, material to make our lives better. You see, we have all the ammunition to do the job. We just don't know how to unleash it. We don't know how to integrate it. We don't know how to build it to higher levels. This is a very important factor that you have to be aware of. So when you come to NeoThink, it's work. Because you've been taught, I consider you've been taught the lazy way. We all have. And now you're going to think and you're going to work the integrated way. And by doing that, you're able to build your life, and you're also going to want to live longer. Remember the burden of life? I want to get over that. So understand the concept of reasoning. So I would say, not that you need to memorize it, but you should understand the logical integration of concepts is reasoning. Reasoning, it's how we reason, it's how we think, it's our thought process, and it has to come through our logical integration concept. So you're substituting specialization with integration, you're substituting percepts with concepts, and you're using the left side of the brain along with your creativity, which is the right side or the right hemisphere. Okay. Man's survival mechanism is his reasoning ability. So that is the what is. You know, people say to me, Miss Annabelle is a lovely story, I love it, but there's nothing there for me to use. Well, I'm going to tell you, you got it right now. Miss Annabelle's constantly talked about what is, besides many other things. But you learn to dig down to the nitty-gritty detail, to the what is. Drill down there. And it is our survival mechanism, is our reasoning ability. Nobody else can do it. No other animal can do it. Because the negatives for the other animals in our animal kingdom, of our world, is that they only have automatic mechanisms. And our reasoning mechanism is not automatic. And that's very important. I was on a call last night. Actually, it was a prep call for our upcoming programs. And I was on with a few other members, Charlie and some others. And we talked about the contradiction of behavior. That one of the aha moments for me in the society was that I was living in a contradiction of my behavior pattern. All the years I was alive, for 55 years before I really got into Neothink, I was living on a follow the leader mode. I was living on a victim mode. I blamed everybody else. I wasn't at fault. But I was a follower. And to see, that is contradiction of who I am, because I am, basically, we all are leaders. We are in charge of our lives, nobody else. And when you start to understand that, you are moving to a much higher level of understanding for yourself and the world around you. So, we as men, women, our reasoning mechanism does not work automatically. However, the animal kingdom, the other animals, their survival mechanism does work automatically because they're in that bicameral mentality. When we work with our reasoning, we alone must choose to exert the effort required to reason properly. We alone must choose to exert the effort required to reason properly. We alone. How many times I've read that, and I read this every day, this paragraph, and I this morning read the we alone. I saw the alone today. And that's it. Alone. This is my journey. This is my program. Yes, I'm with all of you and we're all supporting each other, but we have our own journey. We're using Neothink as the tools, and we're all using it. That's a common denominator for us. But we are in charge of what we have to do. We alone make the decisions. I don't make the decisions for Charlie. Charlie doesn't make the decisions for me. I don't make the decisions for you. You don't make the decisions for me. You make your own decisions. However, it's gotten screwed up because people are being told what kind of decisions they need to make. And they're told, you will decide this. You will decide this. You will decide that. Under pain of guilt, pain of family pressure, pain of religious pressure, pain of government. This is what you're going to do. We do what we need to do for us and our survival. We're going to use reasoning. We're going to develop reasoning. But we must be in sync with who we are, not contradiction. So if anything you get out tonight, that is a huge piece of information. You, as a follower, as being guided, are living in contradiction of your balance of life in the universe. As a leader, as a reasoner, you are in balance. And you'll notice once you make the changeover, if you haven't already, you're going to see your life coming to higher and higher levels. Because that changeover means now you are living in balance with nature and your being, your God-man. Let's throw that right in there because it's so valuable. Your Zon. And isn't it better when you're in balance? It's like you're trying to, put that big boulder up the hill, and it's heavy, dirty, very hard to do. You're ruining your hands. You're cutting your hands. You're hurting your back. It comes back sometimes. It goes on your feet. You fall down, and you can roll back to the bottom of the hill again. That's living in contradiction. However, isn't it great to be on a flat surface? If you want to take the boulder, just roll it down. Or create it small enough you can put it in your hand and still get the power out of it. Doesn't have to be a big, bulky thing, but what happens is we put ourselves into all of this drama, all of these issues, it becomes a burden. And it's a big burden. And it's a heavy burden. And it's painful, painful, painful. So, Dr. Wallace, in his power, I consider his brain power, he's just phenomenal, was able to research and find out that we cannot be in contradiction of who we are. We're pushing that boulder up the hill. It is important that we are in balance. Why do I give you examples of the boulder and all? I'm having you use your minds. I can guarantee everybody here is seeing themselves what type of pushing up a hill, a boulder, and I can guarantee they're all going to be different kinds of boulders because it's your journey, but it's a boulder, and I can guarantee everybody on this call right now is doing it because I'm doing it. I'm seeing it contradicted, pushing my boulder up the hill, and it's got holes in it, and it's kind of like a crater. That's how I have mine. And some people may have it like a string. You know how they put a ball of string together, or rubber bands. They do all that, and you keep adding to it, it gets really thick and hard, and it gets uncomfortable. You can't only use so much balance with it. So remember that piece tonight. You must be living in balance, not contradiction. All right, let's continue on. If, for whatever reason, our ability to function through reason is impaired, undermined, or damaged by, and this is something you want to underline or write down, misuse, no use, our quality of life, our self-worth, and our long-range happiness are reduced. And he says it accordingly to the way we do not use our reasoning. One of the main things for reasoning is reading this literature. I put you to the test this week. Go to, if you have the Rise of Neotech, go to the preface and read on page, it's like on the 5th page. I don't have the page number, so I think it's like 5 or 6. You'll see it. It says preface on the top. It's at the bottom. Read that every day this week. Take notes. And I can guarantee every day you're going to find something added to it that you didn't see the day before. This is a valuable, valuable paragraph that we will be using on a regular basis in Dr. Wallace's writings and program. And it can be done within the society also. So think about that, put it to some thought, and I'll just see if Charlie has any last-minute comments on this before we get into the next part of the program. Charlie, any thoughts? Charlie, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
But it was a great job, Steve, of explaining that, but I could take that contradiction even more into that, because that we fight that every day. As long as we listen to outside authority, doesn't matter if it's just one outside authority that we're listening to, we are contradicting our life. We aren't moving forward as fast as we should because we're listening to other people. Nobody knows what's best for you. I don't care if you're married to somebody for 50 years; they still don't know all. You have, and that's reasonable. That's logic. It's logical. Nobody knows ourselves better than we do, but yet we give ourselves to other powers. Politicians, church leaders, whatever, teachers, police, anybody that has this authority figure. And when we listen to them, we're not listening to ourselves. How can somebody tell you what's best for you? Is everyone on this call living their essence? If you're not in balance. You have contradiction about your life. Or you're making a living from your essence. That's going to balance life out a lot more. But we have to realize that we have to stop listening to outside authority. That's not logical. It has no reason to it. It makes no sense. And we're living our lives not living by common sense. In this world out there, you have to understand, when you look at this AC world, this anti-civilization out there, there's no balance here. There's no logic at all. There's no common sense. There's no rationality. There's nothing. And if you look at this anti-civilization as opposed to the civilization of the universe, everything changes. I mean, 100%, across the board, everything will be opposite than what this world does. And it's hard to really fathom. It's hard for us to put our minds around that. But everything will go away because nothing out there makes any sense. If you see any logic out there, will you please call me and let me know? Because I never see any logic out there. There's none. But yet, look at the millions of people who are blaming any president. It doesn't matter what president we have in office, and they'll blame him for everything. Just because they don't know any better. They just follow what some newscaster said or what some politician said, and they'll believe, oh yeah, man, it's all his fault. It's whatever. Nobody takes the responsibility. So we have to start dealing with ourselves and say, what do I really believe in? I'm a big guy in taking inventory every day, But what am I doing today to hit how I want to live? When the call started, Steve was saying, boy, it's November already. And how many of you have hit your yearly goals? And how many of you have? But like if you picture that boulder going up a hill, which is a great analogy, Digger, but as you do that, the boulder, like in my mind, the boulder is huge when you start to push it, okay? Because you're trying to get rid of the weight of that boulder on you, the burden of life. So as you move up that hill, no matter how slow it is, the boulder should start getting smaller. Picture that in your mind that the boulder's not as big now. And it gets a little easier to push up. Maybe not a lot in the beginning, but anything's better than just being stuck on the bottom with this boulder on your back. So you have to use these visualizations to really see if you're making progress or not. And you have to ask yourself the questions. But just try, if you want to balance your life out, work on your essence. But if you want to balance your life out, are you happy? and ask yourself, am I really happy or not? And if you're not, why not? And then if you figure out why you're not being happy, and then you know why, then change it. Take the action and change it. If you don't know how, go back into the books, and the books will tell you exactly how to handle it. But it all comes down to reason, logic, rationality, common sense. That is what Frank R. Wallace pushes on us all the time. And there's none out there, people. They have buried it, they have killed it, they have taken everything away, and everybody thinks that this is normal. This is how we should live. It's the total opposite of how we should live. By everything. And with that, Steve, I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, we've worked on that issue quite a bit, so you've got a lot of material there. I'm going to talk to you in a little bit about the two philosophies. However, before I go there, I want to have excuse me, I've been on the phone all afternoon again, and my voice is starting to go. It'll be back, but I haven't had a chance to rest it today. We have non-mystics and mystics. And I think this is a point where we need to understand the difference. We're talking about being Zons and having to connect to our Zon. Well, in order to connect to our Zon, we need to know this clarification. Let's look at non-mystics per Dr. Wallace. They're innocent and moral. How important is morality? What do you think? How important it is to be honest, to live a life of taking care of others in the sense of not that you're sacrificing, but you respect others and they respect you. Is it more important to live the fast lane? To live a life where you're living on the edge? Where you're not really caring about other people? Where you're not really give a damn? Is that, and yet people will say they love it. They get energized by it. They're enthusiastic by it. Or is it better to have a calm or calmer living where you kind of follow the rules of society and the universe and keep your nose clean? And do you say that's a boring life? Do you say that that's just burden of life? Or can you say, no, because I'm making my own decisions on how I want to live. I don't need to live in a fast lane or a lane where, in most cases, people live in that fast lane because they're hiding something. They don't want to come to grips with something. They don't want to be aware of the honesty and what is real. They don't want to know what's real. Interesting, huh? They don't want to know what's real. They don't want to look their face in the mirror. They want to look at it. If you are not able to look in the mirror and let your eyes go to your I-ness and spend 5 minutes just looking at yourself in the mirror, and you have to look away, you need to ask yourself a question. What's going on inside of me? Why can't I look at myself? Why do I have to be so busy that I can't think? That's one of the reasons why meditation is a problem for people, because they don't or can't sit still. It's amazing people sleep because they're so fidgety. I guess you could say thank goodness for cell phones. I don't know what they were doing to keep them. I'm trying to remember what they were doing to keep their hands busy before cell phones. In regard to all the activities you see now. Morality. How real is morality? And do we allow it to happen in our lives? Think of that. Innocent. Now, remember in one of the documents we did the non-producer announcement a few months ago, and Mark says, you are the innocent. We are. We're innocent coming into Neothink because we're having blinders on. We're living in a world of being a follower. And we're living with the understanding of blind truth, which is one of the worst evils in the world, or blind faith. And we just accept because we're told to accept. Now, as a neo-thinker, by the way, you'll notice I'm pausing for reasons tonight. I'm pausing because I want you to absorb this material, and a little second or so can help. When we're in that AC world fully, we're not in it now fully because we're kind of in the water. We're swimming over towards the next level, or we're taking the bridge. That we see that we have been, I don't want to say we're living in a fool's world, but an ignorant world. So when we're innocent, we're ignorant. But yet, when you're living a moral way of living, following the laws of nature, living the laws of nature, it gives you an innocence of, and I call it a beauty of innocence. Because you're not manipulating. You're not lying. You're not leading a double life. You're leading an honest, value-creating life with love, honesty, and morality. And that's what Dr. Wallace is trying to say to us as a non-mystic. These are things we need to do. Step 2, we accept discipline and responsibility to think and act with integrated consistency. Now, this is a tough sentence because we have to now say, I'm in charge of my life. I make the decisions. I will take care of the consequences. I will deal with them in a moral, creative, disciplined action or form. I. Not him, not her, not them, I. And if you're going towards your Zon power, back to that, you have to be in this integrated consistency. And it's a daily in and out. It's daily. The third step with this is you must be living a world of producing competitive values for others. You see, I can't take the answer I get from members who will say, well, I'm retired. Because I read this section. You can't retire in the sense of doing nothing. And I don't mean nothing in the sense of, not playing golf or something. I'm talking that you can't give back something to others, even if it's volunteering, even if it's educating, even if it's working in a retail store. You're giving back something. Part of the concept of a non-mystic going into our Zon mentality is that we understand the power of competitiveness and we use it with our value creation. And I'm going to leave it with this last one, and then I want to go to the two philosophies. All of this that we've talked about, innocence, moral, discipline, responsibility, acting with integrated consistency, competitive values for others, must be living in a mentality of honesty and, I say, reality. The what is real. You cannot create reality. Reality is. It's here. It's there. It's not to be adjusted. It's not to be created. It is what it is. So are we willing to accept the reality, look at it, understand it, live with what we got, or are we going to manipulate it for our own benefit? which, by the way, breaks away the moral, breaks away the honesty, breaks away taking responsibility because you're manipulating. And it's in contradiction to who you are. See that? Because that's mystical. So think highly about that. If you have any comments, Charlie, feel free to add to this, and then I'm going to do the two philosophies. I think Charlie's muting out.
Yeah. Geez.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
When we think about what is real, and I think what I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask the question out, which I think is real in all of us, and some are worse than others, and so forth. This: why do we believe everything that someone else says to us, but we don't believe what we believe in? Why do we always have to assume that we're wrong and they're right? And it happens to us all. We are our own worst enemies most times. But like, say that you're going for a new job or something, and somebody says, "I'm like, you're not going to get that," and eventually you'll say, "Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. So why even bother?" We always believe in other people, but we don't believe in what we feel and what we believe in. But for us to, so when we look at our life and say, we have a chance now to be real, what is real? As long as we start being honest with ourselves, as long as we start to understand this literature, as long as we start to move forward, as long as we start to understand ourselves and become ourselves, the freedom that we have when you start to believe in yourself, the freedom that you have when you start to live your essence, the freedom that you have when you know everything that you do from now on is coming from you first, is coming from inside. It's a tremendous feeling. You want to be happy, listen to yourself. You want to be happy, do the things that's right for you. If you want to be happy, be selfish. And it's unbelievable how you'll feel. And you won't listen to all the negatives that are thrown at you. Because you have to understand, family and friends can be the worst enemies sometimes, because nobody wants to see you get ahead, really, because they don't want to get ahead, because they're just all on that same level, and that's the best that they can do. And how dare you try to rise above them? And then and they're pulling at our ankles, trying to bring us back down to their level. So you have to be strong, but you have to look inside and say, I got to start believing in me. I know what's best for me, and you do. You might not believe it, but nobody knows you better than you. That's what's real. All right, so the next time that somebody says to you, you aren't good enough for that, or you aren't good enough for this, or you shouldn't try that, tell them to just be quiet. And if you go out and fail, you did more than what that person would have ever done, because they would have never tried. And you learn from that mistake, and you just keep moving forward. It all depends on you. It's your choice. We have a choice here. Every day we've got to make thousands of choices every day. Sometimes they're hard to make, and sometimes they're not. But that puts more strain on us than anything else, is making choices for ourselves. That's why we're in a follower mode here, because we let other people make all of these decisions for ourselves. Government wants to make everything for you. They want to make every decision in your life, no matter what it is. And they're pulling that off every day because they take over more and more. So stop and think about that and say, you know what? I'm going to be my own government. I'm going to tell myself what to do. And then take it from there, one small step at a time. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, before we get going with this, I do want to say I was working from the Prime Discovery with non-mystics. It's in Book 2. Got to go to Book 2. And I'm going to give you the title, just so we have it in place. It's right after the poker book. And it's the Neotech Discovery, which you all know. And it's on page Roman numeral 11. It's in the definitions part. And I started with non-mystics. Next week I'm going to talk about mystic life, but we're going into consciousness and free choice next week. I want to spend more time on consciousness. I've talked about this before. And we're going to talk about the keys of consciousness, the right keys, and look at that. Tonight I'm going to wrap up because I promised you last week I would address the philosophies. And I am doing this also on the Tuesday night call because this is how important it is. Dr. Wallace announces to us that there are two philosophies. They're philosophical systems that are available to us as man. And by the way, I say man unisex. The first and most prevalent system is based on mysticism, non-objective reality, and the evil of all, altruism. This is where the individual can be sacrificed to a higher good or to noble causes. As identified and proven in this literature, this particular philosophy is anti-reality, anti-life, and anti-man. That I brought up last week as my lead-in. Those were major eye-openers for me. That we're living in contradiction as an anti-reality. We're living against life, or the real life, and we are against our own fellow man. This is scary. And we're going to change it, and that's what we're going to talk about, the second one. So, Dr. Wallace calls this a philosophy of non-reality and sacrifice to higher causes. And he says it was developed by the Greek philosopher Plato. His philosophical system is accepted by all governments and religions and by most people today. This is how scary this is. He said people were evil. People were not needed to be taken control of. People had to control them. Man can basically not take care of himself. Man doesn't have the abilities. And they need to have, actually, he needs a babysitter. And that was the philosophy. So, we have different ideas of religion, politics, sex, and other factors. And unfortunately, the Plato factor literally undermines our happiness and ability to achieve pleasure of living life. Think about that. Now, in this particular book, as you know, Dr. Wallace does quite a bit when it comes to sex, which is a major natural part of our lives, and talks about our sexuality. So he says in this particular Rise of Neo, it takes away our pleasure of psychic sex and romantic love. And psychic sex is mental, physical, and emotional behavior coming together. So I recommend that you study a little bit about Plato. I mean, it's something we've always talked about doing, and we should anyway. Just read some of it. There's references to it in the literature. Mark Hamilton refers to Plato in the Insights. So you can look at that. Now, before I get into the second philosophy, please make a note of this. I don't want to run out of time. Let me give you the recording for tonight. Please write this down. The phone number is 530-881-1219. 530-881-1219. Access code is 894-374-214-pound. Same numbers you called in here. 894-374-214-pound. Now this is the next key, especially for the new members. You're going to be asked for a reference number for tonight's call. Tonight is November 1st. Last week was October 25th, and the reference number for last week was 236. Tonight's recording, the reference number will be 237. Please make a note of it. You're going to need it, 237. All right. Also, by the end of the call, I will be around to open up for some Q&A. So we will end the call in about 10 minutes. And Charlie will open the lines. People will leave. You can hang out and wait for me. I'll be out 3 minutes or so. I'll come back and we'll do some Q&A. So just be aware of it. So don't keep asking, I need to answer questions, etc. You'll have your chance. The second philosophy, and all of you who have been reading Dr. Wallace's and Mark's works knows the second philosopher, Aristotle. The thinking, the mind. And Dr. Wallace says this is the Aristotle teachings is the second philosophical system that a person can know or identify with. And it was identified by Aristotle, another Greek philosopher. This particular philosophy is based on objectivity, objective reality. What is? Objective, not subjective, objective. What is? It is what is. And here's where the difference is. Also, the individual is the highest possible value on earth. Not the loser, not the bad person, not the ignorant person. The highest value possible. Aristotle offers pro-life, pro-self, promotes guiltless pleasures, long-range happiness, romantic love, versus anti-life, anti-man, anti-reality, which is about sacrificing to higher causes. Again, in contradiction to your way of living and the law of the law of nature, the universal law. So, Dr. Wallace does say that he does address Plato and Aristotle and integrates them with the nature of man. Why does he do it? Well, he does it because Plato is out there. It's been out there for centuries. The basic foundation of society is based on his writings. And his incorrect understanding of man. It's going to be up to us in Neo-Thing to change that. We look at Aristotle in our mentality as the one who shows the value of man, the creativity of man, the life of man, pro-life, pro-man, pro-living. And I think that this one, we have to really look at it and see if you agree. I did the research. I see what it means. And to me, the Aristotle thinking, again, the thinking, he used the power of the brain. We've never really been taught to think. We've never been really taught to really think things through. Some of us took philosophy in college and things. We took a semester. That's all it is. Most of us, unless you were going for it as a degree, you just took it to get 2 or 3 credits, whatever it was, and you got out. We never really took the concept and made ourselves think much more intensely. And that's a shame that we didn't have that. Because I think you should have credits towards learning how to think in school. And you should take probably 15 credits towards thinking. 3 courses, at least. Now, you may be thinking with all your other classes, but you're not learning how to think. You're learning how to memorize. And hopefully that's what Neo-Think's going to do is we'll have classes and programs to help you learn how to think as we go forward. So we'll do it. Colleges won't do it, we'll do it. So, Aristotle achieves long-range happiness, vacuous pleasures, and the concept of the value of romantic love. Romantic love. I haven't spoken a lot about that yet, but romantic love is important. It's a major key to what we're doing. It's a major, major puzzle piece. In time, I know there'll be many, many neo-thinkers in that relationship, and some of you will already, who are in a relationship, will also be taking your relationship to higher levels of romantic love. And that's going to be a wonderful journey, and obviously wonderful testimonials about. So, include romantic love in your notes tonight. We will talk more about it, and we will address it. Once you get more into your conscious mentality, you'll be more open towards really learning about the mind factors. Now, some of you already are, and I think that's great. But we want everybody to be involved in the mind, developing it. So, think about it. study that section I asked you to study this week. Every day, read it, and then make a note and see what you learned. And I can tell you by every day you're going to learn something new in that paragraph. I'm going to pass over to Charlie. We're going to be wrapping up. I guess we better be wrapping up. We're going to be wrapping up, and then we're going to do the healing. Okay, Charlie, you can go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me this time?
Not much.
Steve, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just muted for you. Go ahead. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, did you ask me a question?
Phone tonight. Anyway, yeah, this is all about philosophy. You know, Plato had his, and unfortunately, man chose to go that way because it gave him power over us. And Aristotle, he believed the power was from within, basically neo-thing. So it comes down to a choice of what philosophy do you want to follow. You know, and I always hear things like, people always say, well, I'm just one person, I can't change the world. Well, you think Plato was just one person? Look how he changed the world for the last 2,500 years. You take your philosophy that you believe in, and that's what you stick with. You can't work on both sides of the fence with this. Either you're going to follow the philosophy of Plato and just be a follower, or you're going to follow the philosophy of Aristotle and be a self-leader. You know, it's up to you, but it's making that choice. I mean, Plato came out with his philosophy, Aristotle came out with his, and they believed in it, and they both believed in it probably as much as the other believed in, you know. It's just, man took the evil road, and he's still controlling us on that road. And it's time for us to take our own path and our own road, and that's how we do it. But it's a mentality shift that we have to make. And you have to make it for what you believe in, and then you stick with it. That's how we get out of this mess. And yes, Steve, it's late, so go ahead.
I got an email. People didn't understand my instruction about the book. The introduction I did tonight, which is the paragraph, comes out of The Rise of Neotech. It's on page 11. It's Roman numeral 11. No, I'm sorry. I'm mixing the two books up. There is no page. It says preface. It's like on page 5. So, the nature of man is that he, unlike all other animals, and that's the process. The Rise of Neotech. The non-mystical part is in book 2, the Neotech Discovery, page 11, Roman numeral, and the title is Non-Mystics, and that's in the Prime Discovery. Okay? Just so we have it. Okay, let's go ahead. We got to do our healing program. We have members who are quite ill, struggling. We've had some deaths in this. Members of have lost some members of their family. So let's remember Bernard in South Carolina, who's having healing, needs our healing. Shelley needs our healing. Lavertus, her niece passed away, and Lavertus has had other issues, and we need to give her that energy. She's really had a tough year. Louisa lost her grandson. David's wife's very ill. Kay's son, Michael, needs our energy for a major project he's doing. He's a lawyer, and he's working on a project that's going to be very important. He needs our support and the universe. Rose is on tonight. It's good to hear you, but we're still going to put her out there. Patty's on. Hopefully you're feeling better, Patty. Put the energy out there to her. And other members who we have at this point. Charlie, you have anybody else?
No, I don't know.
All right, let's do it now because of time. We do have to get going, but let's take it slow. 1 full minute. Let's put that energy to the universe. Everybody's healthy and well and doing good. So here we go. Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you, Charlie. Great job. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next week, and we're going to open the lines. Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Unmuted. Have a great weekend.
Wonderful.
Night, everyone.